had a whole lot of awards credited to his name. He received the Presidential Medal of Courage from President Muhammadu Buhari in 2016 after his team rescued 3 kidnapped schoolgirls in Lagos and had a reputation of thorough investigation of big criminal cases. The table, however, turned late last year, and the hunter became hunted when he was accused of helping one Abbas Abdurrahman, popularly known as Hush Puppy, to launder money in the United States of America. Kyari got in the news again as he's now been accused of involvement in a drug case and was caught on camera, said to be handing over $61,400 in cash to someone.
From the press conference that was done by Bawa on the activities of Abba Kyari, I will not conclude, but I will submit that those evidence were so avalanche, were so robust, were so enough for them to proceed to a court and charge him appropriately for a trial. And if he's found guilty, so be it. That he's found guilty does not stop him from being tried if the U.S. court found he's supposed to be found culpable.
Unless you do some of these things, I pity this country in the next 10 years in terms of drugs. And this thing has gone to show that it is not all these people saying, peddling this, is the hierarchy. Those who are employed and paid by the Nigerian society to protect the Nigerian society that is betraying the Nigerian society.
For these legal practitioners, the man Abba Kyari symbolizes of crime and justice in Nigeria.
If somebody who is under suspension could be doing all these sort of things, I don't know. That's why I'm saying the super copy is, I don't know who is decorating him. And in any case, we exist in the Nigerian society now that is decorating the wrong set of people.
It's a very big problem. In fact, it wasn't until the United States indicted him through your investigation on Hush Puppy that the Nigerian police force deemed it fit to suspend him. So are we saying that it's until we have international pressure before we can investigate human rights abuses?
Abba Kyari was arrested on Monday, February 14, 2022, alongside 4 other officers by the Nigerian police.
Barely 8 months after FBI indictment, the travails of the prominent police officer DCP Abeokuta Kyari took a turn for the worse after the NDLEA were indicted him and 6 other police officers for peddling drugs. And the latest is that a federal high court in Abuja has given NDLEA permission to detain him and I think 6 others for 14 days. So this will be the crux of our discussion this morning. We're looking at KYARIGATE matters arising, and we do have a social commentator in the studio, Mr. Jamiu Folari. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Well, I'm not alone. Today.
All right. It's just the hunter now being hunted. And that is the irony of this story that we have in front of us today. Now, when you heard about the NDLEA story, what came to your mind?
Let us establish a fact that we have a system in this country that allow criminal tendency to fester until a point that it gets to a situation where it practically becomes difficult to tame. I don't expect, personally, that we should have investigation by Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, coming up with a sort of media trial before the needful will be done. I was so much disappointed that we now focus more on the scene of the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police because NDLEA exposed him, so to say. And the strategy even the NDLEA adopted speak volume of the problem with our system generally. When I saw the evidence produced by NDLEA it showed one thing, that NDA came out public to provide evidence that's supposed to have been presented in court because they feared that it might be swept under the carpet. Because the mere releasing of that video might frustrate the case itself. So before the issue of allegation of drug offense by the NDLEA, I expected by now that the report by the IGP on Abeokuta on the allegation that he was involved in fraud in collaboration with Hush Puppy, Abbas Rahman, it should have been concluded and the necessary things should have been done. So I was so much disappointed that we are making a big noise out of another allegation, out of many allegations, even before that of allegation from FBI that he was involved in the fraud with Hush Puppy. So it should the investigation should have been concluded because it's taking longer than necessary, and the necessary things should have been done. What this indicated that is that the more we delay justice system, the more the perpetrators of this criminal act will continue to fester and frustrate the legal system that we ensure that they are brought to book. So I'm really disappointed that we are making a lot of noise now when he has committed, so to say, offenses, and there has been over complaint, and the system is not strong enough to check the excesses of the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abeokuta, because we have load and load of complaint, which the police hierarchy, the federal government has not done enough. All in the name that is most decorated police officer that has been arresting high-profile criminals in Nigeria. That's not enough. When there's an allegation, it should be investigated, and anyone, irrespective of his status, must be brought to book. So when I got the report that of NDLEA, I was so disappointed that this is not necessary, because if the federal government, the police hierarchy has done the needful, it wouldn't have been opportune to involve in another criminal act. So we we saw this. We never knew what he has even done, even after the alleged suspension, because how will you suspend someone and he's still actively involved in the operation of the police, still sending team to arrest alleged drug offenders, among others. So I was disappointed when I heard the report.
So before I allow Moses come in, there are so many angles to this thing. First of all, Brigadier General Bubanwarua, just this December, became the NDLEA boss, and he issued some warning, and now we are seeing this, and he's promising that we might see more. Does this indict the leadership of NDLEA in previous years, or is there something he's bringing to the table and he's doing now that is making us see these revelations in terms of drugs in Nigeria?
The end justified the means. We should not be quick to comment the present NDLEA boss, although he has a good track record of putting things rightly, but that's not enough, so that we not fall the same to the same mistake of Abeokuta because of some passive success in tackling criminal elements or criminality in Nigeria. So we don't look at the other side. So yes, we must commend him. At least he made an attempt, but let us the end will justify the means. So he has started well. Let us continue. Let us hope that he will ensure that issue of challenge we have with drug issue in Nigeria will be adequately addressed. So it's a good step in good direction. He has a track record. Bubanwarua, you understand that when he was in Lagos, he made some policies that transformed the city of Lagos, and today its legacy is still well known. So the end will justify the means. We commend him for what he has done so far. We only want to be sure that it's something that is sustainable, that the system itself will not frustrate it. Because I'm seeing frustration already in the activities of NDLEA, because the way the evidence was released to the media means that they are afraid that the matter might be swept under the carpet. So that's why they released that evidence, which they shouldn't have released. So all they need to ensure that Abba Kyari is turned up by the police, and you will even see the altercation, so to say, between the police and the NDLEA. Immediately, the police is also accusing the NDLEA of covering up their own men. So we must also state here that it is the duty of the NDLEA to not to pamper whatsoever their officer. If they are found wanting, in whatever capacity, they are culpable in the spread of drug in Nigeria. You understand, in Enugu, officers of NDLEA were accused also involved in that activity, that ordinarily the police wouldn't have arrested them if the NDLEA had done the needful. So we must also call the NDLEA to order to ensure that it puts its houses in order, to ensure that the needful is done. That it's not enough for us to just say, yes, we are arresting drug bearers, we are trying to prevent crime from happening. Let him come to equity, come with clean hand. So whoever is involved, NDLEA officers that are involved in these activities, you know, I think it's getting too late. Look at the time from that allegation till now. We have not heard anything about the officers involved. Ordinarily, we should have had something about it now. Have they been identified? Have they been questioned? Have they been arrested? Have they been interrogated? All these questions are still not answered. So that's my thing.
Yeah, well, the Federal High Court in Abuja has now granted the NDLEA permission to further detain Abba Kyari and 6 others for 14 days. Well, this is a big embarrassment, really. Don't you think the discussion now should be police reforms, how we can sanitize the system so that it can forestall such from happening in the future?
Exactly. The challenge we have basically is the issue of our system. Irrespective of the fire brigade approach we are adopting now, it might not adequately address the problem we are facing in terms of insecurity in Nigeria. We just like what I always mention is issue of when something happens, we quickly address it, we shout about it, only to forget afterward. Even issue of the media, issue of the police, there are a lot of unresolved criminal cases because of the system. So we focus more on what is happening to Abba Kyari. I tell you, in a matter of months, we forget and we move on. It's as if nothing happened. And that has been the system. So what we need to do, just like you mentioned, is to address the issue of corruption in the system, to put the system in place, to prevent. We don't need to use this fire brigade approach. Before, when things happen, that's when we run etasketa to see how we resolve it. So let us prevent crime from happening. Let us stop public officials from abusing their power, because power corrupt and absolute power corrupt, absolutely. So we should put out a system in such a way that the type of Abba Kyari and others in the police force and public officials will not take advantage of their position to perform and engage in criminality. So the police reform is essential, and that's exactly what happened during the NSAS protest. The issue of brutality, among others, is just a micro level in terms of a problem in our security system. There is need for reform in the police system. There's need for reform in our system generally, because in order to prevent crime from happening. So it's not enough that we have this situation, which if we are not even careful, we forget. Because what we know how to do is to shout, have a media trial, so to say, and at the end of the day we keep quiet, and it's as if nothing happened. So the system, we need to reform the system. There is need for a general overhaul in the system to ensure that the system will prevent crime from happening. The system will prevent people from taking advantage of their position to perform criminal activities.
Now that the matter is in court and it seems, the judiciary or the court won't take this lightly, we could expedite the ruling and all that. What are expectations? Some people already say it's about drug trafficking and it should be paraded and all that. But what kind of punishments do you think would be enough that can serve as a deterrent or maybe scapegoats, to others that are involved in this?
It's not for me to state the type of punishment. The law is there. To my knowledge, I think if he is found guilty of this offense, he will be sentenced to nothing less than 21 years imprisonment. I think that's to my knowledge. Is that enough? So that's the law. So as a deterrent, the most important thing here is to ensure that if he's found guilty, because you cannot say he's guilty until the court test pronounce that. So 21 years imprisonment is enough. That's one. Number two, he must have lose his issue of fame, his career, and honor. So that's also a big thing. I think he has been in police for more than 20 years. He was enlisted in the police force in 2000, and by this year, I think he should be about 21 years in service. So he will lose all those years, and all the he's said to be the most decorated police officer. That family name also, and among others. So I think that should be a deterrent. But just like I mentioned earlier, the most important thing here for us is to ensure that the justice system is fast track. So in the situation, because politicians, police officers, lawyers, and criminals, they divide means to ensure that they frustrate our legal system in their favor. Because there are always lacuna in our legal system in such a way that we delay the justice system, and justice delay is justice denied. I will tell you that our legal system in Nigeria is such that criminals, lawyers, and even politicians, they find ways of frustrating it. So you will be very surprised that even with this evidence, if the lawyers know how to play their game, they know how to make the guilty to get free from whatever offense they committed, and even those that are not guilty, they make them to prove guilty. So that's the problem we have in this country. There must be a situation where our legal system will ensure that whoever committed any crime is punished, and there is no delay unnecessary. I think I attended a court session this week, the day before yesterday, at Federal High Court, and I saw how the judge ensured that lawyers did not use all these delay tactics unnecessarily to delay cases, and that has been the approach. They look at the lacuna in our legal system in order to frustrate cases, and these are the things that we must do. Technicalities also. I think we have had situations that it's not that the person concerned is not guilty, but the lash on issue of technicalities to frustrate the activities. So it's not enough that we have the case in court now. The most important thing is justice to have been served, and in order to ensure that whoever is in charge of this case has a duty to ensure that the justice is served, to ensure that those that their life got lost because of drug abuse, the issue of criminality are punished. So that's my take.
All right. In some quarters, it's believed that this issue of Abeokuta and the drug NDLA is just a tactic for some people not to have him extradited to the US. Do you want to buy this idea?
You know, in Nigeria, for virtually every situation like this, we have what we call conspiracy theory. So we attach conspiracy theory to all situations, and this is not an exception. So I was not surprised when I heard that claim that it was just a setup to ensure that it was not will not be extradited to the U.S. And just the logic is simple. The offense of drug trafficking is way there than that of the allegation levied against him by the FBI. So if he is eventually extradited to United States, to my knowledge, maybe 3 to 4 years, he will spend in prison. For this offense, he will spend nothing less than 21 years in prison if he's found guilty. So will he want to spend 21 years rather than 3 or 4 years? I don't think that's rational enough. So the question here is, the only argument that the conspiracy theorists can put forth is the fault in our legal system. That if he's being tried in Nigeria, he might frustrate the legal system, because that has been the practice, that people deliberately frustrate the legal system, and they will, in fact, even though they are trying him with deliberately, because just like the video release, I was furious with it. You don't need to release such evidence, because the evidence is supposed to be released in court. So that's an attempt to frustrate the case itself.
But
so,
without releasing that video, do you think that the police will want to arrest Abeokuta? Because it wouldn't have been arrested in the first place if there was no video in public.
But that's the problem. Why wouldn't he should have been arrested? Must the NDLA blackmail the police before the Abeokuta will be arrested? I think that's not good enough. I think that was what I raised earlier.
Mr. Jamiu Folari, you may have to hold your thoughts for a while, and let's allow Barrister Isaac Zuya to join us. You agree with us that we need a legal perspective on this particular matter, the KYARIGATE. So we'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Bribery and corruption is illegal. It could hinder the economic growth of a nation. If caught, culprits end up in jail. Say no to bribery and corruption.
Yeah, many thanks for staying with us. You're still watching New Dawn on Ogun State television, and we're looking at KYARIGATE matters arising. Barrister Isaac Zuya, a legal practitioner, has joined us. So you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, and thank you, our viewers.
Well, you will give us some legal dimension to this matter. And I mean, is this not a prima facie case? looking at the evidence that was thrown to the open, because I mean, the social commentator in the studio said, at times you think there is enough evidence to nail a suspect, but you legal practitioners definitely know how to maneuver these things. So what's your take?
All right. You cannot maneuver evidence. When you see a fact, and it's a fact, you cannot fight against the fact. The fact is clear. The NDLEA have done their work very well, to an extent that they were able to know the cocaine that came in. They were able to trace it. They were able to give him some to go and sell. All I speak is according to the press conference held by NDLEA. They gave him some to go and sell, amounting to 35, amounting to some money. Then remaining 10 kilogram. Out of the 10 kilogram, he offered to take 5, sell, and bring dummy on 5, so that when they go for testing, they will confirm the 5, as if the whole 10 is original cocaine. And by that, the court will now think that, okay, the whole 10 you have brought is original cocaine, and the person will be charged for 10 kilogram. Meanwhile, 5 is dummy, 5 is original. It was the 35 million naira he sold out of the 5 that brought the whole thing into play. So, and the NDLEA have come out strongly, especially with the pandemic. Let me use the word pandemic that we're facing in drug issues these days. You hear of the Eastern people say Mpurumbiri, which is, and you know, the NDLEA is finding a way to push that Mpurumbiri under a particular law. As I speak to you, there is no legislation legislating on that Mpurumbiri now. And there's a problem, part of the programs are attended by United Nations Office of Drug and Crimes about 3 or 4 times. That's one of the issues we're thinking about. How do we put Mpurumbiri under the drug matters for proper prosecution? Because when I will come to court and say, my lord, this Mpurumbiri is not part of the thing that is recognized by the NDLEA.
So can be classified as a drug?
As it is, there is a difficulty. The court has not pronounced on it. It's going to be subject to serious avalanche of argument for Nigeria to get success against the Mpurumbiri. So the drug things is coming up every day. You see a lot of people doing, apart from cocaine, there are several forms of local drugs that people are taking that is affecting everybody. And the worst thing is people that are doing these things sit in the comfort of their AC and make these connections and bring it to prison and destroy the life of the youth of this country. Go to prison. When I was in Bar prison, they say a woman came to the prison and saw plenty male in the prison, and he was shouting, "These are our husbands. Our women are there. They are suffering. There's no man anywhere. The men are in the prisons. Our young men are in the prisons. Why? Because of these people that are bringing. Okay, I heard of issue of candies in secondary schools, primary school. They were not buying them. What were they trying to do? They were trying to infuse drug mentality into those children so that when they grow up, they'll be used to that candy. From candy, you're used to something that will make you hypertensive at every point in time. And when those children grow in that manner, what do you think will happen? You succeed in making everybody a drug addict in Nigeria. So you know this. I give credit to NDLEA for that kind of work they have done, and that will make everybody to sit up. Those that are cartel, those that are involved in it, they will sit up. And those importations, because Nigeria was a selling, trafficking state. Nigeria does not produce. Nigeria is, you bring from Mexico, you pass through Nigeria to other places, but there will not remain some before they take the other ones there. But right now, Nigeria has become a producer. Methamphetamine and the rest, we are becoming producers of it. So it's really becoming a pandemic, and every hand needs to be on deck in order for us to check this. If not, look at shisha and the rest you're smoking in schools. It's killing our children. We're no longer having vibrant youth that will be able to assist this country.
Okay, let me take you up on. There was something our guest was talking about, and in terms of prosecution of Abeokuta and the judicial system. Do you see this thing being swept under the carpet because of legal technicalities?
No. I don't see it. Because NDLEA played their game very well. They brought him in. He said he was, I speak according to the press conference. He said he was going to collect from them to sell. They said he was going to sell somebody. They said, no, come by yourself. Then they now wired the car with audio and visual stuff. So when he came to give them the money that he sold the 5 kilogram, that was when the whole thing now came into play. And the whole audio of the things he has been communicating and everything is part of it. The one they gave to him is part of it. So you can catch this man. If you can catch him for drug possession, you can catch him for drug transportation, you can equally catch him for dealing. Dealing is life imprisonment. Possession is at least 15 years, maximum of 25 years imprisonment. So with the avalanche of evidence they have gotten so far, if they go to court, I see no reason why they will not succeed. Because the drug he took from them is with NDLA. And the one that is with them, that he took part of it from, is NDLA would have confirmed that one to be original cocaine. If that one is original cocaine, assuming you can even catch him for being in possession, what of selling? Dealing in. Did they sell? Did they bring money? What did they sell? He sold cocaine. Did he bring money? He brought money. So I wonder what evidence anybody will now be looking at in order to prosecute. And if we prosecute him in this country, it's going to salvage a lot of things. Because what people take, what the smokers, this see smokers as victims. They don't see them as people that are supposed to be prosecuted and be taken to prisons. And that's why my NGO, the Legal Advocacy and Drug Response Initiative, we defend smokers free of charge in court because we feel they are victims and we need to assist them and appeal to the court and appeal to the law that these persons are victims and they should be considered. So I wouldn't see any reason why he will not go in for it, looking at the press conference, looking at the evidence that emanated from the press conference. He will go, his life imprisonment is looking at him if they bring those things into play.
Right. Barrister, the fear in some quarters, won't this lead to legal bottlenecks in which this case will drag for years? We've seen similar cases that will drag for years. And he has a legal counsel anyway. And from one adjournments to the other, is this quite straightforward? Are we to expect ruling?
Let me explain a little bit the way NDLA cases are different cases from the normal stealing and killing and raping you have. NDLA cases are like, if you bring this and say this is drug, the first thing they will do is they will test, there's a test analysis in NDLA provided by UNODC. They will test it first. That is like preliminary test. When that test is confirmed, they will now package it or package some of it and send to their headquarters for scientific testing. That scientific testing is now what we confirm. Remember I told you, he was bringing dummy cocaine. That's what to confirm that this is really a drug. When you bring that testing document, you bring it to court with the red seal on it. Even trying to tell them that, okay, don't worry, I'll bring the envelope with that red seal on it, saying that that thing has been tested. Meanwhile, it is not. So it's now see how people try to maneuver our judiciary. Because if you bring that red seal to court and you say, okay, my lord, we are opening this thing, it's from the headquarters, it's sealed and it is tested by scientific analysis and this and this, that the court is not there. The court has no option than to believe what you have brought for it. Remember, it is according to the evidence before me, not according to what I think, not according to what I saw. It's the evidence base that the judge see that they are going to decide his case upon. So if the way it is a classic case, and if the success and the failure of NDLA is dependent on this case. If they fail in this case, it simply means there's a compromise somewhere. And if they didn't fail, it simply means they are up to date. And that will speak for the man at the helm of affair. And it will catapult him to other places that you may not know. The bottleneck you're talking about is the adjournment in NDLA cases are few. Because the moment you get the scientific report, and you bring it to court, and it is affirmed that it is scientific, and this drug that is tested emanated from this person, the case is closed. So the NDLA don't have too much witnesses. They have just 2 or 3 as the case may be. The arresting officer, maybe the investigating officer, and the exhibit keeper. These are their 3 witnesses. They don't exceed this. So you don't have an avalanche of witnesses. It's the police that was okay, we have 20 witnesses that will delay proceedings and trials in court. So with this, I don't think they will have much delay. And the judiciary will be up to date because the judiciary will equally know that the eye of the public is on this case. And remember, justice is what a reasonable man sees as justice, not what you've done in the enclosed or the closed apartment of the judicial court system. It is what a reasonable man sees as justice. So the judiciary himself is on board. The NDLA is on board. The masses, they are watching. So everybody will have to play his game very well to save your name.
He reportedly said he was being framed up. I don't know if that could fly.
I don't know where they sell drug. I don't know original cocaine when I see one. I don't know fake one when I see one. For you to know where they sell drug, that means you have something about it. Babajis, I say he was framed up. You can't frame me up with a child because a child can never attract me. What do you have that you attract me? You don't have, the man will say, the back is okay, the front is okay. What does a child have to attract a man? So you can't frame me up with such a thing. Can you put a child beside me and say, Isaac, I want to frame you up with this child? No, you can't, because I will never look at the child for any sexual intention. I will look at the child with a pity and with a younger sister kind of look at intention. So for you to be framed up, it simply means you are into something like that. And if you are framed up and the evidence is against you, the issue of frame up will be removed and we'll be looking at the evidence in our front.
Okay. All right, Mr. Fulai, I'll take you up on this one. These cocaine that we're talking about were exhibits that were kept, and if it had not succeeded before, Abeokuta would not have come out to go and try it again. That means that, in a way, there's a system that they have been working with and has been successful over the time in at buying out this exhibit and selling it back to the public. Now, what do you think can be done on the part of the public in terms of consumption of hard drugs, and on the part of the NDLEA in terms of making sure that these exhibits remain in their custody and doesn't find its way out?
The first question about the drug itself, I think before I respond to that issue of Abeokuta, that he had this drug, maybe he is found guilty or not, speak volume of the fact that our system, just like I mentioned earlier, is faulty. This will not be the first time, definitely. And remember, he is putting forth an argument again, even in court, when he was seeking for bail, that he was involved in negotiation for payment and compensation of the whistleblower. And that's one of the things that might be presented in court. What we had from the NDLEA is not quite different from what he alluded to. That he said he was invited to come and negotiate because there are whistleblowers from the police that provided information for the arrest of those that are taking cocaine into Nigeria through the Enugu airports. And as a result of it, there is a standard that there will be compensation for the whistleblower. So when the NDLEA office refused to give compensation, that was why Abeokuta was invited to come and negotiate and plead to get the compensation. So what he claimed in the court process was that he was negotiating for the compensation, and the money that exchanged hand in the alleged video was compensation, was not the sales of drug. And that's one of the things. It don't depend on whether the NDLEA will be able to argue that or not. So the fact still remains that lawyers know how to frustrate cases. And apology, and because that's you make even someone that is guilty, they will want to find soft landing for someone that was guilty. That's just the reality. I was not happy, just like I mentioned earlier, how NDLEA released the video in order to ensure the arrest of Abeokuta. That in itself can lead to frustration of the case. And number two, issue of the Abeokuta raised even in his own arguments for bail is a pointer to that. So the second question about how can we discourage the use of drug in Nigeria, the most important thing is to ensure that it's not available. If it is not available, then people will not take it. So one, if it's not available. Number two, for everyone that is caught, just like we have the case of Abeokuta and his allies, if they are found guilty, they should be punished. And number three also, there should be sensitization. because we always blame maybe the government alone, just like I always say, the agent of socialization, the family institution. We need to, the type of, just like you mentioned about the extent and the degree of abuse of drugs in Nigeria today, parents also are culpable. Some parents are culpable in this respect because the way they learn, they model after their parents. Some parents are also abuse drugs, so they pass it to their children. So the agent of socialization, the family institution, has a role to play to ensure that issue of drug abuse. And if you find virtually in all tertiary institutions today, in all secondary school, even in primary school, you find this drug readily available. Not even what you thought are not drug cannot be abused, are abused these days. So, and it's having a toll on our economy, on the health of our of the population. If you know the extent of what is it called, blood transfusion. For you to do blood transfusion, if you have issue with your kidney or liver out of drug abuse, you know, per session, more than 50,000 per session. And many of our youth are having this problem because of drug abuse. And that's one of the reasons. Recently, the federal government says there will be increase in tax for carbonated drinks because of the health implication. So the same thing happens with this drug abuse. It has effect on the health of our population. And there is need for us, the family institution, the government, and all stakeholders to ensure that we play our part. The media also, the school, because virtually all tertiary institutions, all schools these days, you hardly find students not involved in this drug abuse. So all the element of socialization in our society, the government, the family institution, the school, the media, the religious institution, we all have a role to play to ensure that there's no spread and the abuse of drug in Nigeria.
Okay, well, Barrister, now that Federal Court in Abuja has granted NDLEA, permission to further detain him and others, 6 others, for 14 days. I mean, after 14 days, would there be a ruling in that case, or we still have this rigmarole? I mean, what are your expectations, basically?
Yes, you look at it depends on the argument and the way the case goes. If upon a decision for that period, they come back to court, and the court look at it and the justice of it demands that he goes, the court will grant him. They will go, or maybe remand him in the present custody. But be that as it may, it's not a delaying tactics. All right, everybody is being careful. And remember, I used to tell some persons that the scale of justice is like if 4 of us are here and somebody's child poo-pooed on his body, the whole of us will say, go and meet your mommy, or mommy, come and take your child. But if the mommy is among us, she will drop this mic and run after the child and carry the child and beat the child up, and the child that poo-pooed on the body will look clean. That is the state. No matter how you have poo-pooed on your body, no matter how dirty, no matter how bad looking you are, the moment you come to court has this way of saying, welcome. What is the problem? Let's clean you up. That is, to me, that's the scale. So the court looks at it not from the public view, yes. From the prosecutor's view, yes. From the defense view, yes. So the court will have to look at it from all, but when he does that, he does not tell you. He does this according to the available facts before it. And you will not have access to this fact and this thinking ability, the way the judiciary thinks. So sometimes the court will not do say, they have done this. No, it's according to what, remember, it's based on evidence before me. Not based on what the society think or not based on what I think. Yes, societal justice is there. The court considers that also. So that for me, the NDLEA will have issues in prosecuting this case. And the body has his defense, just like you mentioned. The court will look at his defense. Is it tenable? If it's tenable, it will work for him. But if the evidence, according to the press conference, is real, his defense might not stand the test of time. Everybody has a defense. So, to me, I see NDLEA coming out successfully. And that will now set a pace against those that the cartels are the killers in the society, not the users. The users are victims generally. The cartels are the real killers. They're the one that brings it in and makes the money. There was a Yoruba film I watched by this Chata or something. The mother was selling this thing. When he came back from abroad, he was telling the mother, stop this. The mother didn't. As time goes on, just like you mentioned, as time goes on, he started using the same drug. And they were mad. And the mother was regretting. That was a good Yoruba film I tend to show almost to all secondary schools in Ogun State. So if you have those kind of every hands must be on deck, we will be able to, in the UNODC see it as drug demand reduction and drug supply reduction. If the demand is reduced, those that supply will not have much. And if the supply is reduced, those that demand will not have much. So whichever way you assist in curing drug issues in Nigeria.
All right, the demand and supply, but let me focus on the demand, because there is a story from the NDLEA that as a condition for admission, undergraduates will now have to take some tests to be sure that they are not drug addicts and all. How will this help in the demand arm?
The demand arm is if 4 of us here wants to take drug. 4 of us here wants, if the demand reduction is, if 4 of us here, do not want to take drug, and this man is producing, he will not make profit. As time goes on, he will fade out. He will stop producing. Then we are leaving the supplier, the person that is producing. We have left him. We are working on those that take. And we don't take anymore, you will stop producing. Now, this is what is saying in supply reduction is, go against this man that is producing. If he's not able to produce, these people will not see anything to take. Do you understand? So if we are able to sensitize very well our secondary schools, and we're able to sensitize them on the effects and dangers involved in this drug taking, and they are able to take it, then the supplier will have no profit. Remember, they are there for profit. They will not have a reason to push drug into the schools anymore. The shisha and the rest of it you see our children abusing, they will not bring it anymore, because those you are bringing it to are already sensitized. And that's why all hands must be on deck for us to wake up drug clubs in secondary schools, where per week you meet and you discuss. The teachers will be trained on effect of drug and will begin to dish or inculcate into the children this effect. And the children also become ambassadors of this to other of their own colleagues. If you are taking now and you're my friend, I could tell them, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But when I don't know it, I will not be. An evidence-based campaign is that campaign that you are seeing the evidence as you are campaigning. And that can be done in our secondary schools.
Okay, many thanks, Barrister Isaac Izunya, a legal practitioner.
Thank you so much.
And Mr. Jamiu Folarin, a social commentator. I hope, well, the barrister has cleared your doubts that justice will definitely prevail in this case. So that's it. We're not done yet. We'll still be back for another discussion on this program. Stay with us.